Welcome to my talk. Today I'm going to tell you about personas in product management. My name is Sari Linder, and a little bit about me. I'm an IT architecture and management consultant. I have a broad generalist profile, experience from multiple industries, and an alphabet soup of certificates in project management, program management, project office management, and everything agile really. So agile for teams, agile for the enterprise, agile coaching, and agile leadership. The agenda of my talk follows. I will start with defining personas. So what is a persona? And then I will contrast personas with user stories. I will discuss with you the clarity of user stories, and I will also cover the benefits of personas, some good practices for them, and how to create them. All right, I'm going to give you a guide for creating good persona. Then we will do some entertaining myth buster for personas. We will touch on personas in SAFe, and we will close with a persona example. Okay, so let's start with defining a persona. A persona is a fictional character. It's an archetype that represents a group of the users of the product. All right, it's a fictional character. So it has a name and a picture. The persona has a name and a picture. It has relevant characters such as the age, the location, the education, the work experience, and so on. And importantly, it has goals, okay? So each persona has goals. That's the most important part of any persona. Enough text, and let's have a look at an example persona. So here I have an example persona, okay? So meet Anna. Anna is a student. She is 20 years old, and she lives in Moscow in Russia. And in the right-hand side here, you can see some of her skills and favorite social media apps. The goals, again, are the most important part. The goals here, her goals are to keep fit, live a healthy life, visit all countries in the world, and make friends and become a scientist. So that's how persona would look like, okay? So it's a fictional character with some characters and some goals, okay? In order to better understand personas, I'm going to contrast them with user stories. So what is the difference between a persona and the user story, okay? Personas, they really highlight who users are, all right? Whereas user stories, they examine what the users do. As you see here in the picture to the right-hand side, who I am, this question is answered by a persona. What I do, this question is answered by a user story. So the personas answers the who question. The user stories answer the what question, okay? Hopefully this makes it clear when we contrast them with user stories. Great. Let's talk a little bit more about the clarity of user stories. So the general most accepted form of a user story is right here. So as a user, I want a goal so that benefit. As a user, I want a goal so that benefit. As a user here, when I say as a user, this is very generic. It's confusing. It hides important aspect of the end user experience because it's very general, it's not specific. Whereas when I say as a user persona, I want a goal so that benefit, right? As a user persona here, it's more specific, it's more understandable, all right? Enough theory, let's draw an example on this. Here's an example. As a user, this is a user story. As a user, I want to log in with my social media credentials so I don't have to remember an extra username and password, right? That's the user story. But which user really? When I say as a user, which user that is? Is it a business user? Is it a casual internet user? Is it a model? Is it a celebrity, right? The solution will differ depending on what kind of user it is. It's really not clear. Whereas on the other hand, if I say as Bob, okay, as Bob, I want to log in with my social media credentials so I don't have to remember an extra username and password. And I know already that Bob is a business user. I have the persona of Bob on the wall Okay, it's attached to the wall. He's a business user. Now it's clearer. All right. I know that Bob most probably spent time on LinkedIn, right? And then I need to customize my solution to actually fit the LinkedIn business network as opposed to Instagram or Facebook or what have you. Okay. So the point that I'm trying to get across to you here is that personas add clarity to user stories. They make user stories clearer, and this is important, really. This is important for your team, it's important for surrounding teams, and it's also important for the stakeholders of your product, all right? That's the point here, clarity of user stories. Okay, what other benefits do I have for personas then? Personas will help me to understand the current and potential users. It will help me to build the products around user needs. They will help me as well to onboard new employees quickly. So onboarding new employees quickly. So if I have a new hire, which could be a developer or it could be an architect, what I would do is that I would have them walk through the personas that I have created already, and this will help them learn more about the product and the user base. Okay, so personas are useful for onboarding employees quickly, new employees quickly. Another important benefit, very important, extremely important benefit of personas is that they help you to develop empathy for users. Okay? How is that? How do they help you develop empathy? When you create personas, you will have to actually meet with your users. You'll have to sit and talk to them face to face. And when you do this, you will naturally take genuine interest, right? You will take genuine interest in their needs, all right? In their emotions, in their feelings, and what have you. So you will become typically more empathetic for the user base, all right? That's how personas help you develop empathy. The next benefits for persona relates to the product integrity. Personas will help you protect the integrity of your product. Let's first try to understand what is product integrity. Product integrity is really the ability of the product to meet the customer expectations for quality and reliability. That's the product integrity. Personas will help you protect the integrity of the product. How is that done? Okay, as you may know, if you try to please everybody, you will end up pleasing nobody, right? When you build your product. If you try to please everybody, you will be offering too many compromises. You will compromise on feature X, you will compromise on feature Y, you will compromise on feature Z, and eventually that will kill the integrity of your product. So instead of trying to please the entire population, the entire user base, okay, you create 3 or 4 or 5 personas and you try to please these personas, and that's enough. This will protect the integrity of your product because you don't have to offer too many compromises. Extremely important benefit of personas, right? Protecting the integrity of your product. Another thing about personas is that they are quite helpful in scaled agile environments, right? When multiple teams work on the same product and share the same backlog. And as a matter of fact, SAFe trainers have been speaking about the subject of personas frequently in multiple venues all around the planet. Okay. Yet another benefit of persona is in change management. If you're doing change management, personas are useful. In change management, you typically have a group of stakeholders, right, that you would like to understand and you would like to communicate with effectively regarding the change. So what you would do in that case, you would create a persona for each stakeholder or for each group of stakeholder, let's say. You create personas for these stakeholders, then you map them on so-called power and influence matrix. As you can see here on the right-hand side, right? The x-axis is the interest, how much they are interested in the change. The y-axis is how powerful they are in the organization. So if I look here at the top right corner, I have this persona right here. This guy right here, he is very interested in the change and he is influential, he's powerful in the organization. This means that he's a key player and I need to engage him closely. I need to keep him informed. I need to keep him updated. I also need to involve him in the decision making, okay? On the opposite side, in the lower left corner, right, I have this other persona here. This persona here has little interest in the change, and it's not as powerful in the organization. This means that it's a spectator, right? I just need to monitor him, basically. I don't need to keep him updated or informed or involve him in the decision making. So as you see, personas add power, right, to stakeholder management and change management as well. They are useful in that regard. What is next? So now we will cover some good practices, okay? Some good practices for personas, all right? From the community, all right? From the Agile practitioners all around the planet. They have experimented, they have created personas with a lot of teams, and there they are sharing with you some good practices for personas. So good practice number one, don't create a persona for each user. You really don't do that. Again, you're not trying to satisfy the entire population. You create a persona for each user group, not for each user. Okay. Typically, it's really a good practice to have in between 3 to 5 personas per product. That's enough. Okay. Even if it's complex, even if it's quite complex, you will not need more than 5 personas per product. All right. That's good practice number one. Good practice number two is to do this kind of categorization, is to choose a primary persona. All right. So you choose a primary persona. And the primary persona is the persona that you are mainly building the product for, okay? It's the most important persona for you. It's the persona that you satisfy first. That's the primary persona, okay? After the primary persona, you can name a secondary persona, all right? And the secondary persona is the persona that you try to satisfy as long as the primary persona is not compromised, okay? Some teams out there, they try to be even more innovative, and they name a negative persona. The negative persona is a persona that is really against your product. It's a persona that you don't care about at all, that you explicitly try not to satisfy as you design and build your product and roll it out to the market, all right? So do this kind of categorization, primary, secondary, and if you want, negative. How does that help me? How is this useful? This is useful for product owners. It helps you in prioritizing the items in your backlog, all right, when you have the primary, secondary, and the negative. Yeah, I believe it's crystal clear. Okay, and the third good practice is to make them as realistic as possible. When I defined personas at the start of this presentation, I said, well, they are fictional characters. That's true, but you would like to make them as real and as realistic as possible. You would like the team to feel that they know this persona, that they know Anna, that they know Diana, that they know Christina, okay? Even though they are fictional. You would like the team members to actually start using the persona as part of the daily language. All right. So team members will like ask each other, would this feature that we are trying to build now, would it resonate with Christina or Anna or Diana or what have you? Okay. So make them realistic and embed them into the daily language in your team. Okay. That's good practice number 3. Good practice number 4 is to keep them brief. Try to keep the personas brief. So don't blow them up with a lot of details that are irrelevant. Keep them brief, keep them concise, and focus on the goals. This is a good practice number 4. Good practice number 5 is to periodically adjust the personas. The personas are not static entities. They are dynamic, all right? As you work on your product, as you design, build your product, you will learn more about the user base, okay? You will gain additional knowledge about your users, and you will use this knowledge in order to refine and adjust your personas. So you need to revisit them periodically and change them. They are not static entities. That's good practice number 5. Great. So how to create a good persona? We need some kind of guide. We need some kind of manual. We need some kind of recommendation, if you want, on how to create a good persona. Well, you don't create personas in a bubble. Don't sit in a bubble, right, in the office at the corner and think that you're gonna create a persona. That will not work. You create personas by direct interaction with the users of your product. You need to interact with your users, right, in order to create a good persona. And for that, you can conduct user research, okay? It's called user research. For instance, you can do individual interviews where you sit one-to-one with the users, or you can do contextual interviews where you go and observe the users as they are using your product or as they are using similar products or such. You can do focus groups. You can even walk among the users. You can do Gemba walks and so on. Sorry. And when you do this user research, you would like to answer these 3 questions. So who are your users? Why are they using your product? And what expectations do they have about the product? Answer these questions as you do the user research, all right? And you will get findings. You will get findings from the user research, all right? Using those findings, you can start sketching some draft personas or preliminary personas if you wish. After creating these preliminary personas, you can conduct some brainstorming sessions with your team in order to improve these personas, refine them, and make them as realistic as possible and as representative as possible of the user base. Okay, so there you have it. That's the guide for creating persona. You don't sit in a bubble, you go out and you talk to your users. Okay, cool. So what else? Now we come to a very, very entertaining exercise or quiz, if you wish. Basically a myth buster for personas. So I'm going to present you with different statements about personas, and I would like you to tell me whether it's a myth or a fact, okay? And for that, I need you to start your audio. I need you to open your audio, please, okay? So, yeah, so let's start with statement number 1. Personas are public information. Is that a myth or a fact?
Yeah.
I didn't hear any answer yet. Do you think it's or a fact? Do you think it's a myth or a fact? Are personas public information? Public information that you can find on the internet in a Google search or something?
Depends on your product.
It depends on your product. Any other?
It's something we create, I assume.
Yes, it's something we create, which means that it belongs to who?
Just us. It's private.
The creator.
The creator. It belongs to the creator. If it is something that I and my team have created, then it's a tool for my team. It belongs to me. So this is actually a myth. And the fact is that personas are an internal communication tool for your team. All right. Your team will use them in their daily language. So this is the fact right here. Let's take another statement. Personas represent each of your user groups. Is this a myth or a fact?
Fact.
It's a fact. It's a fact. Yes, it's actually a fact. So personas represent each of your user group. They don't represent each user. They don't represent the entire population. It will not work. They represent each user group, and that's it. Another statement, a persona is an average of a user group. It's like basic math. Okay, so 1 + 2 + 3 divided by 3. A persona is an average of a user group. Is that a myth or a fact? Does this make sense?
Myth. Because you want to get everything in that group, all their needs, all their goals, not the common goals, but all of them.
At the same time, you cannot get into details about the every user.
Exactly. It's virtually impossible to collect details about every user. That's true.
So you need to make up something sort of average, but
so essentially, a persona is defining.
It's average.
Yeah, please go ahead. I'll take it later.
So it's a fact.
No, it's okay.
So persona is basically the key properties of your user group. So it's like doing a qualitative research instead of doing an average 1 + 2 + 3 and so on. So it's
Exactly. Thank you very much for this input. It's a qualitative research. It's not quantitative. Saying average, you're suggesting that it's a quantitative, and it is not. It's a qualitative. You're sampling. You're doing sampling from the population. So it's an example of a user group. It's not an average. You take an example of a user group, and you hope that this example, that this qualitative example that you have sampled is sufficiently representative of the user group population. It's not an average, it's not math, okay? It's a qualitative science. Thank you again for your input. Let's move on to the next statement. So personas focus on goals, behaviors, and needs. Is this a myth or a fact?
Fact.
It's a fact, it's a fact. We all agree, great. So it's a fact. Let's take one more. So personas are made up by your team.
Myth.
Yes.
Fact.
That's a fact.
Someone said yes. Could you please elaborate? Made up by your team.
Team of product owners.
And when you create personas, what do you do when you create personas? How to create personas? We have discussed that.
You talk
Interviews, Canva walks.
Interviews.
You talk to the users, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You talk, which means that personas are not made up.
Yeah.
They are made from research. They are made from user research. So this
At
is
the same time, if you're trying to go according to the point 3 here, you need to make up an example. That's like what you mean by made from research. I mean, you still made the user. You don't have a specific user for this.
And I get your point. Yes, there are certain parts. I mean, the picture, I mean, you will pull the picture from somewhere on the internet, the name, the age, and so on. Yes, those are made up. But when it comes to the particular goals of the persona, the goals should be directly based on the user research that you have conducted. If you agree with me.
I mean, even though the age and the pictures and the other properties of the personas look like made up, actually they are like a kind of the vision you took out from the research. Like, okay, I mean, he is a Ferrari user, he wears like this, and so you put a picture, you imagine a man driving a Ferrari, even though it's a made up it's even though it is fictional, it's like
realistic, you want to say. You're trying to make it realistic. Yes. And that's a good practice. Yes, we would like to make them as realistic as possible. But what we have now in front of us is then facts, right? All these statements are facts. So that was the exercise. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And now we can move on. Yes. If you would like, you can go back in mute. So I get the chance to tell you about personas in SAFe, this hot framework. The Scaled Agile framework has gone very hot and very sexy the past few years at different organizations. So we've got to touch on it a little bit. So what is new in SAFe 5? What's new in SAFe 5? Version 5 went out recently. What's new in it? A lot of things are new, but there are two new aspects that are relevant to us, that are relevant to personas today, and they are customer centricity and design thinking. So in SAFe 5, the customer rule was renamed into customer centricity. All right, they are calling it now customer centricity, exactly as they call it in less in the large scale Scrum framework. All right, customer centricity. Design thinking is also added to the framework. So we have these two new aspects. What is customer centricity? Customer centricity, okay, Customer centricity is a mindset. It's a mindset. It's a way of doing business. Okay, the way you do your business. It's a way of doing business that focus on creating positive experience for the customers. That's the customer centricity. Design thinking, on the other hand, is the process that enables this mindset, is the process that enables this way of doing business. Okay, distinguish between the two. So customer centricity is the mindset, design thinking is the process or the toolbox, if you want. Personas can be used along the way, of course. To tell you a bit more about customer centricity in SAFe 5, customer centricity in SAFe 5 is research driven. Okay. And here we distinguish between two types of research. So market research and user research. You do market research in order to drive the strategy of your product. Okay. And when you do that, you try to answer the who and what questions. So who's going to use your product? What are their assumptions about that product? Okay. Sorry. User research, on the other hand, you do user research in order to drive the product design. Okay. And doing that, you answer these two questions, the how and the why. So how am I going to build this particular feature? How am I going to design this particular user interface? And why? Why would I incorporate feature X and discard feature Y? So these questions, okay. And of course, personas are extremely valuable in both kinds of research, in market research as well as user research. Customer centricity in SAFe is also, customer centricity in SAFe is also empathetic design, okay? Empathetic design, as you can see here in the picture to the right-hand side. You have the user, you have the designer, you have that, that area of empathy in between the two. We have touched a little bit on this in an earlier slide, and I would like to iterate a little bit, emphasize and say that you would like to put aside your preconceived ideas about the user, your prejudgment about the user. You would like to explore the world from the perspective, from the eyes of the customers. You would like to learn about the difficulties that they face, and you would like to understand their needs as much as possible. Different kinds of needs, really. It could be aesthetic. Some people have aesthetic needs, all right? Emotional needs, or even ergonomics, right? For accessibility and the disabled. So customer centricity in SAFe is empathetic design, and empathetic design is enabled by user research and by personas, right? As we agree already. How about design thinking then? Design thinking, you started from needs, okay? You do design thinking from needs rather than requirements. And typically you go through 4 phases, right? They are discover and define. So you discover and define in order to understand the problem, in order to understand the context, and you develop and deliver in order to design the right solution for your users, okay? So 4 phases: discover, define, develop, and deliver. And the success of any effort in design thinking, right, is judged by 4 dimensions. Pay attention with me. The success of any initiative, any design thinking is judged by 4 dimensions. And these dimensions are, number 1, the human dimension. So is your design desirable? This is the human dimension. The second dimension is the technical dimension, and it's right here. Is your design technically feasible? The third dimension is the business dimension. Is your design, is your product viable in the market? Viability. The fourth and last dimension is really the environmental dimension. Is your design sustainable? Are you building your product and designing them and even marketing them in a sustainable way? That's how we decide on the success of design thinking efforts. So human dimension, technical dimension, business dimension, and environmental dimension as well. And there you have it. SAFe 5 You focus the design using personas. It's everywhere in the framework, as you can see here in this picture. It's really everywhere. So it's in the iteration planning, right? And the sprints, it's in the program backlog, right? It's in doing the PI objectives, the PI planning and the PI objectives. It's even in the solution context. So it's really integrated and emphasized on in different areas within the framework. Personas for you, okay, for a particular system, for a particular product out there. And the product that I have chosen is an attendance registration system for a school, right? So we would like, of course, to register the attendance and the absence of students at the school. And the user groups that I have for this system are the teacher, the parent, and the administration. I have named these 3 user groups. These are the user groups that are important for me. And I'm gonna create persona for each user group, all right? And I'm gonna name the teacher as the primary persona. So to start creating the persona, it's really good to have some kind of a template or a canvas. Don't create it from scratch. Just pull a template or a canvas from somewhere on the internet and start from that. And this is the template that I'm going to use. It's from Roman Pichler. And Roman Pichler is a big name in the Agile community, in Agile product management in particular. And that's his template for personas. I have 3 columns. The first column is for the picture and the name. And the second column is you put in some details like characters, age, gender, and so on. And the third column is really the goals of the persona. And the last column, the goals, is really the most important one. So this is the template that I'm going to use in order to create a persona for the teacher, a persona for the parent, and the persona for the system administrator. And let's start with the persona for the teacher, right? This is my primary persona. So meet Michael. Michael is 33 years old. You see the font? Can you see?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Michael is 33 years old. He lives in Equilitoriate. He's engaged. He has a bachelor's degree and he works as a teacher with 8 years of work experience. He likes gym and ice hockey, and I can read about his comfort with technology and a 1-sentence summary. The most important thing about Michael, all right, is his goals, all right? Let's read through his goals. So Michael would like to ensure that his students are on track. He would like to keep the parents engaged and updated about the education of the children. He would like to have an easy to navigate application. And he would like the possibility to log attendance from different devices. These are the goals of Michael. And that is my persona, all right? When I'm done with it, I put it directly, I attach it to the wall for everyone and the development team to actually see it and build features around it. The second persona is then the parent, all right? Meet Sarah. Sarah is 31 years old. She lives in Gamlistan. She's married. She has education in hospitality management, and she's a restaurant manager. She has 6 years of work experience. She likes yoga and strolling, and I can read about her comfort with technology. And a 1-sentence summary as well. What are her goals? Like nearly every parent out there, she would like her child to get good education and grades. She would like to be notified when her child is absent from school, and she has a demanding job. Poor her. She has a demanding job, and she would like to avoid frequent follow-up meetings with the school. She has a demanding job, and she wants to avoid frequent follow-up meetings. I don't know if do you start to feel some empathy with Sarah here? Please open your audio. Do you feel empathetic for Sarah? She's pressured on her job, okay? She has a demanding job. At the same time, she would like to make sure that her child is on track at the school, right? Do you feel the empathy here? That is the point of having personas, to make you feel empathetic for Sarah, to feel for her, okay? And really, really design your product as close as possible to fulfilling her needs. Yes, that's the empathy part. That is the empathy part, and it's the most important part. So that's the persona of Sarah. Okay, the next persona is our friend Bjorn. So Bjorn, he's 54 years old. He's the system administrator of the school, okay? He lives in Agvi area. He has vocational education. He's a system administrator with many years of work experience. And of course, he likes beer. And you can read about his comfort with technology. He's very strong in configuring IT systems. What about his goals? Like any other system administrator out there, he would like to have a stable and reliable IT services. He would like to have regular backup, telemetry, and monitoring as well in place. So now that I have created the personas for all the user groups, what I can do next is that sorry, people. What I can do next is that I can develop epics from the goals, right? So here I have in front of me, I have the goals of Michael. And in particular, if you pay attention to goals number 3 and 4. So Michael, the teacher, wants an easy to navigate application, and he wants the possibility to log attendance from different devices. From these 2 goals, I can derive this epic to the right-hand side. So the attendance registration system should have a modern navigation experience that is consistent across different devices. That's the epic that I can create from the goals of the teacher. Okay. Well, let's see the parent. Let's see Sarah. So what epics can we derive then from her goals? If I pay attention to goal number 2, so she wants to be notified when her child is absent from school. She wants to be notified. The epic that I can derive is, it should be possible to enable and configure notifications in the attendance registration system. Cool, that's another epic. From the administrator for Beyond, if I pay attention to goal number 3, so Beyond would like to have telemetry and monitoring in place.
If I may ask a question.
Yes.
Is it the same as a feature?
We are at the epic level now. We're talking about we are talking about the epic level, but if you're working in a safe environment and you would like to call it a feature, feel free to call it a feature. That's fine. Okay. So the epic that I can derive then from goal number 3, telemetry and monitoring, I can derive this. It should be possible to monitor the availability and performance of the attendance registration system. Now that I have my epics or features, if you call them what you want, I can break them down into user stories. I can refine them into user stories. And I'm going to use the epic for Sarah, parent. It should be possible to enable and configure notifications in the attendance registration system. I can break this down into story number 1, and it goes like this. As Sarah, okay, not as a user anymore. I know who needs this feature. I know who needs this user story. As Sarah, and I know Sarah, and I feel for Sarah, and I know that she is pressured on her job, and I know that she cares a lot for her child, and I would like to make her life easier by any means possible. So as Sarah, I want to have notification badges on my mobile device so I quickly get informed about any absence. So that's how the user story looks like when you have utilized personas in your product design and development. Story number 2 that I can derive from the very same epic, then as Sarah, I want to enable digest notifications so I get informed in case I miss any of the badges. Okay. So now we've got then a full example really about using personas. So for a particular system, we created the personas using a template, and from the goals of the personas, we derived the epics, and we broke down those epics into user stories as well. And we have the teacher as a primary persona, right? We said that maybe the parent would be secondary persona. Using this kind of categorization, primary, secondary, I can go ahead and even prioritize these user stories that I actually get. So personas really cover, I would say, a large proportion of the product development lifecycle, a large proportion, a considerable proportion of the product development life cycle. And with that, I would like to wrap up then my talk It's really cool that I'm almost on time. So to summarize, I would like to say that personas are fictional. That's true. They are fictional, okay? But they are really useful in real product management, okay? Create personas by talking to users. Please talk to your users. Nowadays, we cannot meet a lot of people face to face, meet with them virtually. Talk to your users in order to create personas. Use good practices from the Agile community. The Agile community has been using personas for a good number of years. A lot of good practices have emerged. People have done a lot of experimentations. Please use the lessons learned that are out there. Distinguish between myth and fact, which is what we did today in the fun exercise. And importantly, very importantly, experiment with your team. Use them with your team, okay? And if they prove efficient, and I believe they will prove efficient and they will prove useful, expand to the rest of the organization. Don't limit yourself to your team. Set things in motion in your organization, okay? Knock the door of other teams, knock the door of the RTE, of the release train engineer, and so on, and expand the learning experience to the rest of the organization. I would like to thank a lot Evelyn Tian, Robert Kier, and Mary Lanyan. They were with me around the time I was putting together this presentation. And of course, thank you very much again for giving the time to join me today. And I would like now to move it to you if you have any questions or thoughts. I'm thinking we can give to that maybe some 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how many questions you have. So please open the audio and let's discuss. Let's take any questions.
Hi, I'm Dimitris. I didn't join the meeting. I actually forgot about it, and like 15-20 minutes ago I joined. So my question is, and my apologies if you have mentioned something about this before. If you can go back to the template for the personas.
Yes.
There were 3 columns. The last one was the goals. The 2 first was like a picture, and the other one were the details, right? So, I mean, from looking at this, it feels like the most important one is the goals, and the other 2 are. I mean, I can't see the clear value of having the other 2 columns. Can you elaborate more on why they would be useful, and why would we bother with the others?
To bring the personas to life. It's a very good question. It's a very good question. The purpose of having them is to really bring the persona to life. If you just use the goals column, then you're most probably looking at a list of requirements, right? In a traditional project, in a project that is managed in a traditional fashion. And that is not the purpose, right? So to bring personas to life and make them part of the daily language in the team. So
I think that details can help you to make your prototypes better suited for your specific persona, because it's not only goal that will affect the persona when the persona will use your application or product. So from this point of view, it's probably useful, I think.
And also, the reason we are using this to realize a fictional character, I mean, reflected to the reality. So a goal doesn't define a person's real character. You have to see the picture. You have to see the details. Okay, she or he looks like this. Okay, he has this age. So you try to understand, you try to really imagine, you try to create a kind of real person in your imagination.
Yep, indeed. Indeed, very good take.
I mean, thank you for the responses. If I may, a follow-up question. So in the industry, it happens that we don't always work with vertical teams. We often like in a very specific, like let's say component team, where our we deliver features basically to other teams. So maybe we can see how these features will benefit the final user of the product, but it's like very far away. So do you, I mean, I really like the idea of personas and I'm all for vertical teams. I'm curious if you have any suggestions on, because or how should I say, it will be very difficult to convince people who are who think they are so far away from the end user to devote effort to write up details and empathize, as you say. I really like the overall concept, but I wonder if you have any tips on how to basically encourage teams that are not working so close to the user, to the end user, to do all these things.
Well, I would suggest starting small, really, rather than at a larger scale. I mean, if you call your team to a brief session, or maybe you don't even need to book a session for that, you can really take it in the retrospective. I mean, initiate a discussion about it and turn it into an exercise, into a game. I think that would be a good start. At least that's how I did it.
Just another
as a matter of
this.
fact.
Can I just add another thing? I
Please.
think Dean Leffingwell has mentioned that, or if it was Mike Cohn, I don't know, that you should try to see everyone as customers. So your team probably delivers something to someone else. Who is that? What value do you deliver to do you deliver value to some other team, some other guys? Do they do any integrations with stuff that your team delivers, for example? Are they can you see them as customers?
Is that
good point? Thank you.
Yeah, a question or just a reason? I don't know. Just to get some kind of value thinking into all of this, and to see someone that you deliver to.
But if the customer is another system, I mean, like we have two ECUs talking to each other, and the other ECU, do you make a persona of that ECU then, or?
Yeah.
And the question is, what is your product actually? Because probably the product is the end assembly of the everything, kind of. And then you put it into the bits and pieces, and your ECUs is the parts of the huge thing. And maybe the persona is not the end user. Could be.
If I may say something, if you say something like if you have two ECU which communicate to each other, and then you want to make a persona user for that one, I think you may allow to do it if, in some cases, if your ECU cause some DTC, which may cause some malfunction of the other one. So you may take that other ECU as your customer to make sure that he's satisfied, then you may clear up your DTC. So that you make sure that when you deliver something, it will not affect or block the deliveries of other ECUs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this can be used in order to make efficient how you deliver to other integration teams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any other remarks on this line? Before I call the break?
Yes, I have a question, Ola here.
Yes, please.
This talks about goals. What about user needs? And sometimes we talk about, or at least I try to identify what actually user need and not actually what they say. I mean, they can say that I have this goal to accomplish this or something, but they might have other needs that sort of runs deeper. How can you elaborate a bit on the goals and the need thing here? Thanks.
Well, thank you for this question. I believe there is overlap between the two, as you're trying to suggest. I would say the starting point is the needs, right? They are more pertinent. They are more current as compared to the goals. The goals are more tied and connected to the future, I would say. So yes, hope that answer you.
Not really, but do you see here that the goal is something that the user want to accomplish? I want to accomplish 5 tasks today or something. That is the goal for this persona. Because the examples you had on the goals for like the teacher and the whatever, the mother and whatever. I mean, it was more, yeah.
I mean,
yes.
If I may say,
I know it's a tricky question, but that's why I wanted to ask it too.
It actually is. It actually is.
I mean, can I say something about this? Some thoughts only.
Yes, please.
I mean, sometimes, you know, a user doesn't know, and most of the time it is true, doesn't know what they need. So as designers or product creators or these, we try to come up with some solution and solution ideas based on the fact what they want, which in this table they are their goals, you know.
Yeah.
So okay, if she wants to have this, she needs that. So if she wants to achieve this goal, she needs this. So this brainstorming, I think it's something our responsibility in our team.
Okay, so we will be interpreting the goals then into a collection of needs, right?
That's what I would do.
Yeah. Yes.
This is just a technique. I mean, sometimes they can directly tell you their goals. I mean, the users, they can show their needs in a way that can be mixed with goals. But I hope you got my point here. You know, when they say I want to achieve this is my goal.
Yeah.
Then the how to say, reverse engineering is something we can do.
Right. As perhaps illustrated on this slide right here. So number 2 here can be seen as a goal. Yes. She wants to be notified when her child and we have interpreted it into some needs and the epic to the right hand side, if I'm following along well with you. Ola, does that speak to you?
No, I've been also thinking about goals and needs for the last few weeks also. So and as I said, I don't have a good answer to it yet. I've been thinking more like how you can formulate these type of things so you can sort of emphasize better. And I've seen a lot of personas where we've sometimes talked a lot about the solutions or something. But sometimes if you also want to talk about we have this person, she's this age, she works in a very busy environment, she's often stressed and her manager is on her. Then I think if you put in the persona in that type of context, maybe, I think this is what I'm starting to figure out or thinking about, that if you put the person in the context, then it's also maybe easy to, what do you say, interpolate into the future or something, or finding, really finding the solution or something.
Yeah.
But this is something I've been thinking about more about the context.
Could I, Stefan here, if I could
Please
go in between. I
Yes,
would think
please.
that if we're talking about empathy, for me, needs is a deeper. It's a need that you don't know yourself, or it's deeper than a goal. Is more objective, somewhat way, and yes. But I would look into the details to see what their real need is if you want to satisfy the customer or satisfy the user, what we should call it. So I would go into the details to see what the real need is, actually. We're talking empathy, that is.
So again, now it's us to search for the needs, right?
Yes, and ask questions, of course.
Yes, right.
Yes.
So maybe goal is then at the qualitative level and the needs are more at the quantitative level. Does that
Yes.
does that speak to you?
So I have a comment there. So I feel that the needs are something that come out only when we empathize with the persona. Everyone, when we ask them to think about what they really want from a product, can actually come out and say exactly what they want. But when we do empathize and actually follow the second column, especially when we get to know them and understand their frustration, they themselves tend to reflect on what their frustrations are currently. And it automatically gets us to the column number 3, where they start expressing their thoughts in a subtle way of what they really need from the product. And those needs essentially become our goals from what we eventually figure out this is what they want from the product. I think that's kind of connecting with them and bringing it out from them automatically.
Yes. And that makes for me the quality too. Yes.
Yeah.
Ola here. So you say maybe you have could you go back maybe to the slide or the template with the 3 columns? Because what you said here, would you then maybe put more of the need stuff or in the details column, the middle column here?
I would, Stefan, I would. Because there you can see that she's very stressed out, and you can see that she needs an easy application that's as automatic as it can be. So that's her need, I think. Yeah.
I mean, that's a problem that her life, the problem she's facing, and then if it's sort of that if you understand the problem or I mean, the solution typically becomes obvious.
Yeah. But you have to ask the right questions to this persona or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you have these personality, motivations, frustrations at the 3 bottom. X there.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly.
And that they should be filled in too. Yes, they're important parts of the needs. Yep.
Absolutely. Point number 2 and 3 in the goals columns is actually directly connected with the stress level that she is going through. And so we want to make sure that she is notified immediately and that she doesn't have to spend too much time. It is instantaneous.
Yes.
So can we say that if these needs are fulfilled, okay, her need to be notified about absence and her need to actually reduce the stress of follow-up needs, can we say that if we as a product development team, if we fulfill those needs, then Sarah will get to her goal in actually more relaxed and more easygoing and happier life?
Yes.
That could,
depending on how much
could be her goal.
Depends on how much the child is away from school.
Yeah, of course.
Well,
all right.
I would say it's a starting point, and we come up with the MVP and we give it for use to Sarah and collect feedback whether it's working for her or not. But definitely points number 2 and 3 speak to her stress levels and the details in column 2. So it's a good starting point in my mind.
Yeah.
Great. Welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed that exercise, that game. And I would like you to, let's start with room number 1. And could you please just name one person to present your findings and share it with the rest of the participants?
Yes, I share my screen.
Yep. Wow, look at that. Look at that. Wow, that's nice. That's nice. Yes, please go ahead.
So our persona is Sara, and she is 37 years old, and she is a single mother with 2 children, lives in Partille, and she is working as a store manager right now for several years. But before, she was a boutique assistant for 5 years and sales representative for 7 years. And she likes traveling and meeting with friends, socialize with them. And she is a good Facebook user with some other apps also. So she's not, like a technology geek, but she aware of technology. And she has a positive personality. She cares about the other people. And she's helpful, and she's a natural leader. And motivations for her is to be successful. So success is a motivation for her. And she looks like nice and fine. She doesn't look like, chubby and fatty, let's say.
Yeah.
So her goals, maybe one sentence summary also covers this personalities. Stay smiling, whatever comes in life.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And and her goal is to stay fit and healthy, and bring herself self-satisfaction, and feel better in all conditions. So this is our persona.
Okay, and this is for the maintainer user group, right? Could you remind us of the maintainer user group then? What is the characters of that user group, the maintainer?
Good question.
They are familiar with the basics of fitness and that like to maintain a good shape.
They are familiar with the basics of fitness and they would like to maintain in a good shape. So do you think then that this persona is a good representative of that user group?
This is a question to the second group members, or?
Well, it would be better if they give their take, of course. The second group. Yeah. Second group. So this persona right in front of you is for the maintainer user group. And the maintainer user group, they are familiar with the basics of fitness. They know the basics, and they would like to stay in good shape. So do you think that this persona is a good representative of that user group? Or are there any adjustments that you would suggest, any additions, any things that actually need to be dropped, any things that don't fit that user group that appears in this persona? Number 2. Stefan, Ola, and Pierre.
Well, I'm number 1 actually.
You are on mute.
Yeah, no. She could also be like a busy representative, I realize now, because if she's like a single mom with 2 kids, she has like 0 time to do any type of training.
Yes.
So I was just thinking of self-satisfaction. You won't have time to have that. I think it's to find a level which you can find the time two things. Yes.
I think the fact that her one sentence summary says stay smiling whatever comes in life, and then motivation is success, I feel that is the one sentence summary tells me that she's kind of the one who goes with the flow. So whether success comes or not is okay.
Yes.
But the motivation written as success kind of feels as though it is a little conflicting.
Okay.
I mean, it's yeah. I totally get your point, but it's up to your perspective, definitely.
Yeah.
And
I have a question regarding that remark. Does it disqualify her to be into the maintainer group?
good question. I like that. So group number 2 then, or room number 2, do you think that this conflict would disqualify Sarah from being a representative of the maintainer user?
What's the maintainer?
Can you repeat the conflict again?
Can you repeat the conflict again, just for clarity, Kash?
It wasn't me. I think it was the other one. Is this the maintainer? I think the conflict is this on the same point? The success and the stay smiling comes in line.
Yes, it's on the same point.
Oh, okay. Oh, same point. Okay, so the sentence summary says that stay smiling whatever comes in life, tells you that it's a person who is going with the flow in life, and whether success comes or not. So my point was it was in conflict with the motivation of being of wanting to be successful. So
I see your point.
And then there was another comment whether this is part of the persona, which is maintainer.
Yes. Any comments, Stefan and Ola?
I think when I think of it and read it more, bring her self-satisfaction. Yeah, of course she needs that when she needs her time by herself. So it's important for her to have the time to actually go away to the gym and breathe for a while. So, yeah.
Okay,
but I was thinking a bit more like if she would be a maintainer and probably have more time than the busy person, I would remove the kids. And I mean, she could be like maybe 32 years old instead, or 29 years old with 0 kids or something. A single mom with 0 kids sounds a bit strange, so I would say just a single mom with 0 kids is probably someone that killed her kids or something. So
it's an artificial word.
Yeah.
And one thing,
I mean, she could have lost her. She could have lost her kids in a car crash or whatever. But it's like, yeah.
having two kids doesn't mean that she doesn't help anything from anyone. She could still manage her time to do some activities.
Yes. Actually, I think she has to.
She could still give her child to her ex partner, or maybe they see regularly each other. We don't know that.
No,
all we know is she is single. I mean, she maybe have a partner or not. We don't know that. But what we know is she is positive. She has a positive attitude, and she works for it. I mean, she tries her best to keep herself in shape. So she is a maintainer. I mean, this is what she do in her life.
Yes. And when she was in her early 30s, she must have done a lot of gym, right? Come on. So she's familiar with the basics of fitness. So I mean, until the kids' life kicked in, and got her busy. And let's please remember that this is a preliminary persona, right? We are drafting the persona now, and there will be like multiple iterations before we can say that this is actually realistic. And this is a good representative of the user group. Can we please, Mustafa, move to your pricing of the features? How you price the features then? From how much Sarah would pay for the features, you think? Show me the table then. Your list.
Yeah. I mean, we decided to select from the features list. So we didn't select all of them.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
We chose only the ones we believe that this persona really wants to pay for. So the amount is like 299 per month for the app.
Euro or?
That's a good question.
Sorry?
Is it 299 euro per month?
No. Of course, it is krona.
Okay.
All right.
You know, it has to be 299.
Yes. Yes. That's a marketing trick. Yes. So 100 krona then for the workout program.
Yeah, actually, the main money goes to the features where she can keep her body in shape, which are workout programs plus calorie burn and diet tracking. You know,
Indeed,
this is,
indeed.
you know, when you become like over 35, let's say,
yes,
your metabolism starts to get slower. So you need to keep your metabolism higher,
right,
as you have when you were 20s.
Right,
But
right.
That's why she spends most of money into workout programs and calorie burn and diet tracking.
Yeah.
Plus, of course, she wants to put some targets for herself. And yeah, plus she wants to be notified. I mean, yes, we know she has 2 kids. She has a lot to do in her life, so she needs some notification features.
Yeah, reminders that, well, you have made 10,000 steps today, or you haven't made, you are maybe 2,000 steps away from your goal for the day. Yeah, that is important for an individual like Sarah. When it comes to the chat and stuff like that, I mean, I don't think she will have time for chat, to be honest, with peers and experts and stuff like that, right? It actually speaks to me. It speaks to me. Any thoughts from the from room 2 on the pricing that Mustafa shared?
No.
Okay. All right. But then shall we move to? Yes. Cash, do you want to say something?
No, I'm good.
Oh, you're good. Okay. Shall we move then to? Shall we move to room number 2? Can you please stop sharing, Mustafa?
Yes,
and they can share.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ola, over to you, Ola.
Wow! Wow! He's scary. He's scary.
Ola
He's
and
scary.
Stephen.
But this
Yes.
this doesn't look like an MBA guy. You should have found someone in a tie or something.
And does he really pay
no.
for what he's doing?
Oh no!
Do you want me to walk this through or what?
Yes, please do. Which user group first? Which user group?
It's the busy guy.
The busy guy. Yes.
Yeah, he's a type A personality,
Yeah.
but he's not interested in hitting the gym like this picture looks like. So that maybe you can.
Okay, I'm gonna find another one. Sorry about
well,
that.
never mind. Okay, he's 42 years
Command
old.
and control guy. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's 42 years old. He's male. His location is Sweden. He's divorced, and that's the reason why he has to work, because he has like 2 kids and a very expensive wife to support. And his education is, of course, an MBA that he did at the same time, and that's the reason why he also got divorced, because he studied too much and worked too much. His occupation is middle manager on one of the larger companies here. You could say Volvo Cars or something. Working for 21 years. He's very active. He moves around a lot physically, but not to the gym. We thought he could be that this is a memil. Memil is a Swedish word for medelålders men in lycra, which is probably middle-aged man in lycra. It's like someone in middle age dressing up like something and then go out and just bicycle as hell. He's very comfortable with technology. He's still, as we said, a type A, very ambitious. He has the OCD. Yes, he's very frustrated. He's very, very close to having a heart attack. He's been yelled 3 times, one every year on his annual lookup from the what do you call it, this företagshälsovården, this healthcare thing. And I mean, he's very close to a heart attack, and he has been warned. So he knows now that he has to get fit. He looks a bit pluffy over his stomach. Doesn't look so good to his colleagues. Yeah. So this is him. Yes, he works hard to get money because he's divorced, and he also has to spend some money on his mistress. Yeah, So I mean, he wants to do something quickly, but he wants to reduce excess fat and to appear fit. It's more important to appear fit than
to be fit.
Yeah. He wants to be peer fit because it's important. It's in his life. It's all about success. It's all about status and appear successful. Fake it until you make it and everything.
Fake it until you make it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Anything else you would like to add in group 2 here before we look at the next slide?
No, that was perfect, Ola.
Thank you. I've started to get into storytelling the last 2 months, and I realized that storytelling is really powerful, and this is sort of a storytelling thing. We're trying to tell a story.
Exactly.
It is. Yes.
It is. Yeah.
Just one question from my side. Sorry, can you remind me what does when it comes to personality, you say type A. What does that mean?
It's actually it's called that when you are sure to have a heart attack somewhere in your life.
It's like an overachiever person, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And OCD, what is that? Sorry.
It's obsessive compulsive disorder. So a person who is constantly on the go and is looking for perfection all the time. And it's always mostly related with work. So it's just
tourism, Emil, then.
But how can this be a motivation? You know, I mean, this is a disease. You know, OCD is a disease. We are asking the motivations for him, right?
Well, he doesn't know that it's a disease.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I got your point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's internal. It's like it's how he feels. Like he's supposed to do everything to perfection, and everything is quantified in time, and he needs to continuously take action, and it has to be perfect. So it's just his motivation, a natural.
So perfection actually is motivation to
be
perfect.
Perfection.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh, he doesn't look like very perfect.
I think that's what
he's about to pick a fight with me. I look at him. He wants to pick a fight with me.
Yeah, he wants to punch you in the face. Yeah.
Yes.
He could come up with a Russian mafia do that.
Yeah.
Mafia.
Really looks like that. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
But a quick question for you. What was the user group, the target?
Busy. They value fitness, but they don't have much time for it.
Yeah. We should choose this one. Very easy to create a persona.
Yes. Shall we have a look at the pricing then that you did?
He will not pay anything.
Should I take this one too?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay.
So
the overall thing is 870 euros yearly. It's like 9,000 Swedish crowns per year. And it's probably, I say 1,000 crowns or 800 crowns per month, Swedish crowns. I mean, we also, as you did, we removed several of them and just left what we think he will be interested in. And we also changed the first ones. Of course, he wants to have a personalized workout and a diet program, and he's prepared to pay a lot for this. This is like the 800 euro things. It's like having a personal trainer on the other side that follows him up on a regular basis and changes everything. The rest of here, calorie burns and diet tracking, integration to wearables, target setting, gamification. It's like these are things that of course, are important to him, but they are like, what you say, commodities, or everyone has that today. You can't really charge for it. We still thought that gamification would probably be the one that would really trigger him to do this. If you can compare to his because he's so much into status. Everything is about status in his life.
Yes.
I mean, he wants to win every discussion, everything, every one time. He's a pain in the ass, really. And he can't. And the thing is that he's so competitive that he can't even lose against his kids, even when he realizes his kids is losing him in like Yahtzee or something. Can't do that. It's
So it was the right picture anyway.
so gamification for me is of course important, but I mean everyone has gamification today.
Yeah. For me, that was very realistic and
thank you.
Very, very realistic. Yes, that was a sweet presentation. Any comments from group number 1?
I can say that even though every other applications or the fitness apps has the gamification, he looks like a person that would definitely give more money for this gamification and target setting, especially. He has money. He works for it. He is very result-oriented and very focused on perfection. So I would assume that he would definitely pay money for some, rewards and for the self-satisfaction also.
Yes, exactly. He wouldn't mind buying trophies. Buying fake trophies. He would buy fake trophies. I mean,
fake trophies.
Fake trophies.
He sounds like a guy, shows you. You see how much rewards I have on my app.
Yeah. Something like that. Okay.
I like the point, Mustafa, but I thought maybe if I would, a way to be, I mean, if you have a personal workout, I guess you will get targets in that. I'm not sure if target setting here is that you set your own target, but someone else in the personal workout program will set your target that he has to follow, of course.
Yeah, I understand actually what your point about target settings, because when you have a personalized workout and diet program, you most probably would have a target setting as well.
Yeah.
So you don't have to pay for that. So it would cover, the first item would cover that one. Yeah, but gamification, I would definitely be sure that he would pay like at least 10 per month. So you can put another 0 next to that one.
We definitely consider the pricing in this way. When
we considered that before our launch, Mustafa. Good point.
Yeah. Nice, very realistic. Again, very realistic, very successful presentation. Thank you very much. Both Ola and Mustafa, thank you very much for giving me the time today. And if you don't have anything else to add or to share, maybe we can close this meetup and allow me to look forward to meeting up with you next time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Take care. Have a great evening. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thank you.